40 causes of claims in a construction industry. Construction industry is not an alien to the claims. So this is also one of the industry that has stuck with the major problems with claims. Whenever a large number of stakeholders are being involved. So in a construction project, you might know that right from the client, the project management consultant, the main contractor, the subcontractors, the vendors, when a large number of stakeholders are being involved in building a project, it automatically ends up in claims. So let us see that what are the causes that will make claims in the construction industry. So we have populated some 40 common causes so that you can have an understanding that what all can end up in a claim. The first is in the client or the contract administrator related causes. First is change in quantities, work and scope. So when so many stakeholders are being involved, there should be a clear contract between these stakeholders. So when the contract has to be clear, the scope has to be clear, the specification has to be clear, and what are the BOQs being involved, it has to be clear. Any ambiguity will definitely result in the claims, because while starting the project, both the parties will have an understanding based on the contract, but while execution, the reality hits that additional scopes arises due to technical reasons, or due to commercial reasons, or due to instructions from the clients, because their understanding was different while making the contract. So this is a very common cause of claim in the construction industry. Late giving of possession. So whenever the project is being opened, usually the land is either owned by the client, or in public sector projects, the land is owned by the governments. For example, in case of roadways, railways, this is a very common issue of ROW. When the client says that I can give you possession on so and so date, but he might not be able to give possession because it is still depend on the third party and other external forces. So this usually happens in the infrastructure projects. It also happens in oil and gas projects or power plant projects, where the project is going to happen in a single place. For example, a mechanical contractor has to complete, MEP contractor has to complete, and then allow the other contractors, instrumentation contractors, to come and commission. When the MEP contractor delays, then automatically the site might have not been given possession to the other subcontractor who follows the MEP subcontractor. So that also happens at site, and end of the day, these all results in claims. Acceleration, suspension, termination. These three are large subjects which has to be discussed separately. But even the names look very similar, like acceleration, suspension, termination. They all end up in a different kind of claims. In acceleration, there are different kind of accelerations, like constructive acceleration, directed acceleration, mitigation. So it depends on the additional resources which has been engaged for acceleration. In case of suspension, the claim is different, because the contractor may say that I had resources, I have to put them on idle, and you have to pay the idle cost. And in case of termination, the claim will be different. So some of the scope might not have been completed, and it could have been resulted in loss of profits, then other claims that arises due to illegal terminations. So the total scenario is different for these three, and still these are very common causes of claims in the industry. Unrealistic expectations. The most project managers might have been faced from the contractor, from the client, that the specification will not be clear, it will be very vague. So when the specification is vague, it opens the door for unrealistic expectation from the clients. So they might say that you did in that project, in some other project, the contractor gave this, and you have to give this. Just nothing to do with this project. And such vague requirements in the specifications will always put a burden on the contractor, and it might result in claims later stages. So, writing vague contracts when you are not clear. Say an employer write a vague statement to the satisfaction of the employer or engineer. It means that the employer is not aware of what is required. So that is the concept here. So when you develop leadership qualities and you take the risk, you be very clear in what you require. If you're not clear, please speak with the contractors or please speak with the other projects and what has been established. Be very clear in writing the contracts. Else, you might think that you are very clever in writing vague contracts. No, a vague contract will always result in claims, and it will result in the delay of the project, and the entire team or the stakeholders will lose the credibility. Payment delays. These are very, very underrated delays, but they have a very high impact on projects. See, unlike other industry, construction industry works in a way that this is a business where the contractor comes with the minimum amount of money, might be 10%. In most cases, that 10% also, the client will give us an advance and the contractor will give a bank guarantee. So the entire cash flow of the contractor depends on the every monthly bill or completion of the milestone. And this business is designed based on the cash flow. When the cash flow hits, it collapses the entire project. The most leadership roles in the engineers side or the PMC side or in the client side are aware of the commercial implications. They might be technically very good, but when it comes to commercial, they forget that this is a business. So in that case, cash flow is very important. Even FIDIC classes give coverages for the payment delays, and many standard form of contracts give them. But still, this is an unspoken area in the industry which has to be spoken more to boost the construction activities and encourage the contractors to take more work, and also employees might aware of the importance of the payments and the cash flows for the contractors. Increased overheads due to time extension. This is a very common claim, that like a prolongation claim, especially on the overhead cost. We have seen separate videos how to calculate overhead costs. So when there is a delay, the overhead cost is a fixed cost which the contractor has to spend in spite of the project is being executed or not. But the cash flow depends only on the project execution. So the fixed cost is going to increase whenever there is a delay in project. If a project has to be completed in 2 months and it is not going to be completed in 2 months, and there is another month has to be extended, the third month fixed cost will be high for the contractor because there is no returns from the project itself from the site. So that if the delay is proved to be on the other party side or the employee side, the contractor is eligible for the prolongation cost. Quantity measurement corrections. So these happen very normally in infrastructure projects when quantity measurements happens then and there, and the most of the IPC is based on the quantity measurement at site. So we always prefer joint measurements and then submit a certification. In most cases, the client might not be able to come and the contractor does the measurement submits, and then later the client comes and says, no, we have not completed these things and we are not going to pay. And that will always result in a claim and a dispute. It's not like every dispute is going to a high arbitration or mediation. This will slow down the project. This claim will slow down the project and this will accumulate and it will slowly kill the project. And I can tell you that every arbitration cases, 99% will have a line item of pending bills or unacceptable measurements between the contractor and employer. So contractor related issues. Next one. Delays in work progress. So especially due to contractor issues. The contractor might not have a competent team. The contractor might not have an eligible resources to complete the project or the machineries. So all these will end up in delays for which the contractor is fully reason for the delay, and where the client can claim liquidated damage on them. And even when the delays are just beyond the delays and the core reasons are something else like torts or breaches, then they can also have the eligibility to go with the consequential damages to recover from the contractor. Time extensions. So when there is a delay, and the reason for delay might be due to contractor or third party or the employer, that results in time extensions. And time extension claims are usually focused on time. And when the delay's responsibility is being bifurcated, it results in compensation also. Financial failure of the contractor. This is very important. Most of the procurement and contractor professional will have a back verification of the contractor's reputation at industry, because this industry is a highly volatile industry that even large contractor will go vanish within a year, or a single project can bankrupt an entire contractor business. We might have seen that, and I don't want to name the names. Some giants have vanished in construction industry. So the financial stability of the contractor has to be monitored in a very serious manner, and even in the pre-qualification stage. Of course, we get bank guarantees, we get instruments to keep our security up. But still, if the project is not being completed and the project has to be terminated and handed over to another contractor, that's not going to be an easy process. So in that case, the financial failure of the contractor will result in the claims from the employer towards the contractor, because if they are terminating and giving it to the other contractor, the entire cost will be back charged to the first contractor. The contractor's technical inadequacy. Sometimes in paper, the contract will be highly technically fit. But when it comes to the reality or to the site floor, the reality is different. They will not have enough competent people to execute the project. That is the reason for the delay in project or reworks. It depends on many other efficiency of the project. So the contractor's technical inadequacy will always result a claim from the employer or the client. Insufficient project information during the tender. So this goes to both the parties. And it is more important for the contract to get the clarification when the tender documents are not clear. That is why the technical bid evaluation has 2 or 3 rounds. In some large project, it even goes to 10-15 rounds to get the more clarification. Even the bid of the employer or the specification of the employer gets strengthened with the feedbacks from the contractors during the technical bid evaluation. So any insufficient project information definitely will result in additional claim at the end of the project, or it will end up in a dispute that the client will say no, it is included in the original cost, and the contractor will say no, it's not included in the original cost. Contractor's inaccurate cost estimation during tender. See, when there is a highly competitive market and the contractors are in a hunger to take the project, even at the low margin, they might miss the calculations of certain specifications, and it might result in low estimation, and of course they will end up as an L1, and this will question the entire project delivery. This is not the first case. There are so many cases in the construction industry. Just believing on L1 bidders will not end up in a successful project. So that's why there are more strategies being given now. Not the L1 bidder is just the qualification to become the contractor who wins the project to execute. Contractors' internal labor problem. So they may have fabrication yards which might have strikes, and they may have labor issues at site. That may result in they might not pay them properly, or the other facilities might not be properly. So those reasons will end up in claims from the employee side. Construction site accidents. So we always tell that HSE never slows down the progress. HSE always tries to protect the project interest. HSE in the sense of safety, health, safety, and environment activities at site. Because when HSE is not tight, it may result in many issues. It may result in injuries, heavy losses, fatalities. It may result in questioning the credibility of the contractor. So that's why HSE is always considered very tight, and if any site accidents happens, then definitely it will result in a claim. Equipment related problems. So equipment failures or delays in equipments or procuring the equipments at very tough stages, that can lead to claims if they affect the project schedule in terms of time.